Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brothers Take podcast. My name is Kris. I'm joined once again by my brother Eric,
Hello.
and we are back in the room this week to talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, as we have both finished the main story, and we could finally talk about the story and the spoilers. And this is, of course, your spoiler warning, because this is our Clair Obscur Expedition 33 spoiler cast. So if you have not finished the game, I'd recommend, maybe go finish the game and then come back to join in on this discussion. However, if you have finished the game, or maybe if you watch someone else finish it, watching streams and stuff like that, then you are very welcome to the discussion, and we hope you get involved as well, sharing your thoughts on the story, on the characters, on things that happen, your highlights, things you didn't like, whatever it is. Do get in touch, share your thoughts. We're all about that. We want to hear your take as we give our own. So if you're watching YouTube, make sure you jump down to the comments and share your thoughts. If you enjoy this episode, please do give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future content. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you could also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on Expedition 33. But without further ado, tomorrow comes.
Ooh. That's actually when we're going to release the episode.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
it's tomorrow actually. Yeah,
But
yeah.
tomorrow,
You,
but tomorrow will come, and then it still won't be out. So you'll still
yeah,
have to wait.
you
till
can
tomorrow?
actually, you can never hear this episode.
No,
It's
you'll
all, it's
never hear
forever,
this.
it's forever moving. So I suppose I'm trying to think of like the best way for us to break down how we're even going to talk about the game. Like it's some sort of fashion or sections. Like
Well,
some people might want to hear certain parts, right? So I feel like the game is split up. And maybe that's the best way to do it. So if someone's like, to be honest with you, I just want to hear your thoughts on the ending, then they could jump into timestamp right to Act 3 or whatever.
yeah, but we talked about the prologue, didn't we?
Not,
Already in.
yeah, but we did not spoilers. We didn't talk, like me and you did, but not on podcast. We said nothing. We only talked about the premise. And it's because the
Oh.
premise is
Well,
well
then,
known.
yeah, it
So,
makes more sense to start with prologue, Act 1, Act 2.
Act 3, yeah, I think so. So,
Well, Act 2, epilogue, Act 3, epilogue.
well, like, I feel like the epilogues are like mixed in.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just start with the prologue then, which is probably the one we're going to spend the least amount of time on. But your thoughts on the prologue now that you could actually go into more specifics rather than just like talking around it.
It's a very. It took me some time to be like, "Ooh, their mouths are not synced up," and I was like, "Oh, maybe that's just because they're French mocapped, right?" You kind of most notice that stuff, but it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful opening. The entirety of the prologue.
It's fucking
Gustav,
tragic, man.
it's beautifully. I don't like the implementation. So I'll start with the negatives first, and we'll move on to the positives.
Sure.
All right. So I don't like the implementation of like the grapple mechanic.
Oh,
It's
right.
just
Okay.
randomly in there in the city. I didn't really like that. It just felt very like we need you to know how to do this. It's like, yeah, I felt like that could have been introduced in Act 1 when you're actually
On the continent.
on the continent because that's where
Sure.
it made sense. Um, the of course my fighting Mael was just so you know how to fight.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So the kind of implementation of the actual gameplay mechanic stuff was like meh to me, but just the music,
Ah, the music was
the
incredible.
music, the setting that it is the day of the Gamage, the name Gamage, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and then getting to explore, and you're spending the final days with this playing Gustav, who looks like Robert Pattinson, voiced by Charlie Cox, spending the final days with the woman that he wanted to have children with, as she is going to
Yeah,
Gamage is
that's
very
it's a
it's
really cool detail that the reason they split up is not that they fell out of love. It's that they disagreed on
yeah.
children. Gustav being very much what we're doing is for the next generation. He has his apprentices, he writes in his journal, he looked after Mael. Like he's very much about the next generation, and what we're doing is for them, not for us.
Hmm.
And then Sophie's attitude is very much, I don't want to bring any more people into this world because it's cruel.
Hmm.
And it's like there's such a fascinating, and no one's. I don't feel like it's straight up one perspective is wrong and one perspective is right. I think it's a
No,
very
they're just
gray
perspectives. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that kind of we'll talk about that again later. Like that kind of resonates throughout the entire game. Like
Mm.
people having very much a like you can understand the motivations of every single character, and it's not so straight up. Well, you're just like the goodest person ever, or you're just straight up evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
It's never like that. I think like there's so many cool little conversations you could have in the prologue, and like again, I remember playing as Sophie and walking around, and like I got to talk to a lady who was actually judging her for not having had children, you know?
mm.
And she was very much like, you have nothing to show for yourself. Now, when you disappear, there is nothing, you're leaving
Left.
nothing behind, like, and like that's such but then she's like, yeah, but you're leaving a grieving child behind who's
Yeah.
just going to grieve your loss and now has no parent. Like, it's like, wow. And then the other, like, thing is like the premise is so simple but so complicated that,
Mm.
like even some of the characters in the prologue talking about how they're so old now in their 30s. But being in
Yeah.
the 30s is now because it's the oldest you can get at that point. That it
Yeah.
changes the whole like Mael every so often will call Gustav old man and stuff,
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, it changes everything because if that's where you peak and then you die, then that's the lifespan of a human now, and it keeps decreasing and like eventually. I mean, they'll get to a point where, like, I don't even think that you can get down to zero. Because to be honest with you, once you're under the age of like 10, how many kids are going out on this expedition? Like, you know what I mean? And they're certainly not procreating.
No.
So, you know, they have way less time then. It's not like, oh, you have 30 years left to do this. It's like, no, you've way less time than that. You have 15 tops, maybe.
Hmm.
And that's sort of even a bleak kind of. It's like if at age 15 you're going out on this kind of. Well, I suppose Mael is 16 or 15, and isn't she? She's the
But that,
youngest.
yeah, that's also a messed up idea as well. Is that yes, the time that they would have if Expedition 33 doesn't succeed,
Hmm.
and there's like that was a really small expedition crew. They
Yeah,
bet like 34, didn't they, or something? They had 5 tables. 34 had less than that
yeah. They said that they were
for
kind of
the
celebrating that.
yeah. So
Yeah,
which means that
yeah.
more and more people, and I think that's even in the prologue, more that you do meet people who are against the expeditions, who are like, it's so pointless. Just spend your time here and just live your life.
Right, because they're like you're spending your last year out there, and like it's not. They're very much adamant that it's not going to work. So why don't you spend your
Yeah.
last year with the people you love?
Yeah, so that's what they do, which means that even at that idea, like if 33 didn't succeed, there might not be anyone for 32 or 31 or 30 and so on. And then even as it gets younger and younger,
Mm.
we do have to take into account that like people around Mael's age, which are 16, could become mothers at
Mm.
like 13, 14 and stuff like that. And it's like, well, parents. Um,
That's what I
which
meant. Like it's a
it's
bleak.
yeah.
Like the younger they get, the bleaker it gets. That in order to keep society going or alive at all, is some really harrowing
Mm,
decisions to be made,
yeah.
and real different and complicated and controversial decisions and all those kind of things. There was one guy I talked to in the prologue, and I remember saying this to you off podcast, but you didn't talk to him. I think he was across from. So when you head up towards the dock, but you go to the right, there's these people
Yeah.
doing these like these fireworks kind of show dance thing, and there was a guy across from them, and he was one that was like, oh, the expedition is pointless, they shouldn't go, and they referred to him as a paintress follower.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, that's really fucking interesting. I'd love to know more about that. So is there people in this world that, and it never really, I didn't come, maybe it's inside story somewhere. It never came up again. And I was really thinking maybe I'm going to meet people out there who worship the paintress and that death is like a release or something, some kind of weird, because like different perspectives on what this all means. It never came up again. I was like, that seems, when I think back to it, I'm like, that seems like such a weird detail.
Um, you
But
do.
it does it come up in side stories?
No, it does come up the main story.
Oh, does it? Okay, I don't remember it.
Renmar.
Well, we'll talk about him because that's different, right?
It's like it's actually like
But it's different. We'll talk about him.
is all right. We'll talk about him
We'll talk.
first.
Like,
Um,
yeah.
uh, and then also, yeah, okay, we'll talk about him. But I didn't meet him. I met someone else who was like against using the Pictos. That the Pictos were weird because that's what
That's so
the
interesting.
the
Yeah.
Pictos were. No, maybe I just didn't go. Maybe he was there anyway, and I just didn't find him. But this guy, he was standing a little bit back from the crowd that was looking at the stage of all the dancers doing their magic, and he was just like, "It's so weird that you put drawing the Pictos on yourself. You paint them on, but I suppose at least you can remove them." So I think he was a bit like you're kind of being the same as the paintress because you're painting the world and you're painting and using your paint to manipulate the world.
Right. Yeah.
But at least you can get rid of them. The paintress doesn't seem to be getting rid of anything, which I think is also an interesting concept. Actually, to pick those in a terms of using spells is really cool. In terms of how it works in gameplay, I was so confused. I was so like,
I was it took me a
I was
long
like,
I ended up watching I was like, what the fuck is a Pictos? I was using them, but I was like, what? Like, I know you mastered them after, but what does that mean then? Like, so I didn't connect the whole Pictos Luminas thing till much later. I saw a
oh,
little video that said how to use Pictos and Luminas, and I was like, how to use Luminas? What the fuck are Luminas? And I went in and I went, oh, that totally changed from then on. I was like, oh, okay, okay,
I
I don't know. I think I read it wrong the first time around, and yeah, I needed that little proper explanation of when you learn a Picto, it becomes a Lumina, and you can basically equip people with loads of Luminas based on
yes,
your
yeah,
Lumina points.
I did figure that out once you could start to do that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't putting together that Pictos also have things like increase your damage, increase your health, increase defensive
Yes.
speed.
Yeah.
I didn't figure that out until this is really bad. Until I cleared the game.
Go away. Oh no,
Yeah,
I figured that out much earlier.
because at one point I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
why is Gustav's health so low and everyone else is just so high?" I just didn't get it. And
Yeah.
then even with Verso, I was the same. And then at one point I was like, "Wait a minute, what happened to CL's health? Her health used to be really high. Why is she dying so
Oh, and you had
quickly?"
taken off a Picto.
I was taken off.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was obviously for the more permanent Pictos rather than the Luminous thing. But yeah, no, it was only I went, oh, there's stats
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. So they actually, they work like materia.
They do work a bit
It's
like
basically
Mysteria.
the materia system where it's like you can customize these characters. It sounds like a simple system of, oh, like, yes, they have their own little skills, but nobody is like completely unique really. But it's like, but
Mm,
you can make them unique by putting in, whichever Pictos you want. There's a good level of customization.
yeah, and also I think there was as well picked some of the Pictos can come with. I did learn what the Pictos do relatively early on
Mm.
because like there'd be sometimes you'd have Pictos on a character and then you try to heal them and they wouldn't get healed and you go, what the fuck's that? And then you check and you go, oh, my Pictos gives them increased damage, but they're not allowed to be healed or something like that. So
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I always
um,
avoided the ones that were like null effects. I was like, nope. I was
I
like, I
I
find this tricky enough. I don't need any of that.
I did them for the 4 fights, and then yeah, I would have got rid of them.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I suppose, yeah, you could do that where it's like, I'm only taking it as a challenge for 4 fights and then, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just so you get the limited point. But yeah, there was also a mime there, isn't there, in
there
the city?
is, yeah.
I didn't fight the mime, which you get a trophy for, and I have no idea I didn't fight him.
And then of course there's the beautiful and tragic Gamage sequence where
Yes.
Sophie disappears, all the people disappear, and it really sets the stakes of what we're fighting for, what this is all about. It's done beautifully and in such a short period of time. Like they didn't need to spend like you don't need like a 5 hour opening so you get to know Sophie before she goes just so that you feel the impact. They kind of is like within an hour we're going to do this and then you are going to be like okay I understand why we're doing this
Yeah,
and
I think
there's enough
it's
of a connection. The voice acting is and the writing is fantastic. I think
mm,
throughout like the
it's
characters
it,
need to say very little for you to get what they're about and what's going on.
yeah. Well, I think it's the I suppose the creators, which again re-emphasize. We've probably said this every time we talked about Clair Obscur, but re-emphasize this is 33 people, and also again the amount of music to this
Is
game.
yeah. Well, one second. On the 33 people, as the core team, yes. But when I got to the end credits as a lot of people. So I'm like, is it 33 people? Like, obviously, there is other people involved. There has to be. I
Yes.
think there's a core team, and then I think there's a lot of other people who are also helping out in this game.
Well,
But
I'd imagine because it was mocapped. So I
Was it
imagine
mocapped?
it was mocap. Yeah, there is actually you can look and you can find
Jesus, that's
the mo
crazy.
the mocap clip of the Gomage.
Oh
So the two
my
actors
God.
acting, which is again why I'm saying that the mouths are not synced up because the
Sure,
mocapped people were speaking French and then the other people speaking English.
sure.
Anyway,
Yeah,
so I'd imagine so that's obviously another team,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They found a person on Soundscape, right? Well, he got his own people, so that's another team, right? So yes, there is more than 33 people, but there's still the core
The
team
core
is
team, yeah.
was 33 people, which would include the director, the writer, and the game developers, and then probably the designers and whatnot,
Mm.
right? And I suppose even at that idea, the core team being as small as it is, and then being able to get so many other people involved to bring
Man,
this
it's
thing to life
crazy.
is just goes to show when you are passionate about something, what you can achieve.
Yeah, well, passionate and skilled. Like, you know what I
They're
mean?
very fucking
I'm like,
talented.
if I got 32 people together, no way could I pull this off. I haven't a fucking clue. I don't know how to even make people move in a game. That's the shit that like I'm like this is
No, no, yeah, but
crazy.
you can make you know how to make people look at rocks and puddles and be like, that's amazing.
This is
That's
incredible. Look
what
at
your
that.
game would be about.
My game would be
You're a
just
game you be
a
playing
rock puddle looker.
you are playing as a geologist.
Absolutely. So I suppose we might as well get on to Act One, where the game
Hmm.
really kicks into gear. Um, the expedition kicks off, and we get this incredible introduction to Renoir, and you kind of go, okay, this game is like was already great, and now it's like holy fuck, and I don't know where this is going, and wow. So Renoir obviously shows up, and he was a big mystery in the trailers anyway because you're like he's older than everyone, so
Hmm.
how is he alive? Uh, he has this amazing audio effect to his walking stick that is
Yeah.
like every time it lands, it's like a ticking time bomb or something. It's incredible, the audio around that. And then he just wipes out the entire expedition.
Yep.
And it's quite harrowing. And afterwards, you're just left to like Gustav looking through the remains, sees no hope, puts a gun to his own head until Lune stops him, and you're just like, wow, this fucking game is not holding anything back. But what did you think of all that?
That was that was fucking nuts. Because we're also, I think that's the first time we're introduced to Nevrons.
Mm,
And they were the creepiest, weirdest fucking like spawns from the Dark Crystal. And
mm.
they were just coming around and snatching people up, and I thought that was really cool. And yeah, just the whole effect of the ticking time bomb, but also every time his walking stick hits the ground, it's like this echoing drum as well. Like it's very harrowing. And he just says nothing as he decapitates someone, and you're just like, yeah, again, as you said, like it just they are not holding back with
Mm.
the grittiness. And then, yeah, that moment when you're Gustav and you walk into that cave and you see all those bodies and like the blood almost crystallized going up to the roof and everything like that. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, are they like, the first initial thought in my head was like, are they like harvesting the blood of the people for the painters to make new art or something like that? I kind of like that was something in my head at that time. Yeah, and then Gustav putting his gun to the head, and I was like, holy fuck! Like
Mm.
they're going to be dealing with some heavy topics here, and they do.
And I love the interactions between Gustav and Lune. They're brilliant together.
Yes, and very early on as well. This is again like the brilliance of the writing, as you mentioned. You very quickly get a sense of the type of person Lune is, even from that
Yeah, yeah,
short
yeah.
interactions.
And they get like so like he obviously sees that and goes, "Oh, this is hopeless," and very clearly loses hope. You know, you
Mm,
can see it in the image. Um, and like so, then his stance at that point becomes, "What's the point?" And her stance becomes very much, "This was always the point: is we keep going for the next generation." And we note what we find and we leave and I love that idea as well that when you come across flags and stuff that were planted by the last expedition, this is as far as we got kind of a thing,
mm.
or you find the little notes from the expedition and like and it's helping you learn what they found in the world and stuff because obviously they never made it back to tell anyone,
Yeah.
so like all that is just really fucking cool. But then of course I suppose you end up looking for Mael and you find her in the manor,
Hey.
which comes up loads of times. Really interesting location. I love that throughout the game you could go off the beaten path and find a little door, and if you go through, you unlock a new room in the manor, and it's
Hmm.
this little puzzle that's kind of solving itself, and it's very clear, I think, when you're in it that you're like, this has some significance. I don't
Yes.
yet know what the significance is, but it's very clear that there is a significance. There's a reason they made me find it, that it wasn't just like a side quest thing.
Hmm.
There's a reason they brought Mael there, and the curator is. I mean, you're
Introduce.
like, I don't trust you. you you don't look good. What did you make of all of that? Or
So I thought the manner was interesting. It is very like what the fuck. You find Mael. I think that's the point when you go, okay, so Mael is very important.
mm,
That's the first now clue that we get that Mael is important. How did she get there? We don't know. The curator, the first thing that popped in my head when I saw the curator was it reminded me of an enemy from the Witcher 3 called the Caretaker, who's in the Hearts of Stone DLC.
I wonder if it's a
Because
reference.
probably not, but it's just the fact that that guy has. They both have no face, but in
Yeah.
two different ways. So the caretaker actually just has skin over the face, while the
Right.
curator has a hole in his face. But it kind of reminded me of that idea. But I kind of liked. I wasn't so instantly like, oh, he's evil. I was just
Right.
like, okay, he's weird looking, but okay. He's just obviously just the caretaker of this manor or something like that, and Mael clearly has something to do here or something like that. Yeah, so I didn't mind him. He was just like, "Oh, he's your Withers of
Yeah. Yep.
Baldur's
From
Gate
Baldur's
3."
Gate
So
3. Yeah.
so I was like, he looks evil, but obviously he's just a helping hand.
But he's also, I mean, yeah, he's very interestingly named the curator in a game that has things like a paintress and stuff. You
Mm.
know, it's like you think of a museum curator or an exhibition curator. Uh, it's very interesting. And I suppose after this point, yeah, I mean, you go through. There's so many interesting enemies. I think in the and also the underwater location looks fucking incredible. It's like
That's
this
that
game's
is yeah,
nuts.
that's
Like,
where you meet Maya. You go to it's the Flying
yeah,
Waters, I think is the name of the area. Yeah, it's
yeah.
like you're underwater, but you're not underwater, and it's
There's stuff
crazy.
like swimming and but you're breathing fine and the seaweed hanging up and stuff. And it's
Yeah,
fucking crazy. Um, but then of course we get to go to the Gestrel village, which gives us a good opportunity to talk about the Gestrels.
yeah.
They're
That's
great.
again. It's so I know like you don't really want to use maybe the term JRPG, but like it is very JRPG
Yeah,
because
it's JRPG
it's
inspired, like you know.
yeah,
So
and having the gestural is there. It's the weird, cutesy, silly little Moogles, I suppose, is what they are. But I just love the idea of these like very silly. A lot of them you meet are all very small, like little children almost.
yes, and they
But
sound so funny.
they sound so funny, but they're so like, yeah, let's fight. Fuck it, that was a good fight, man.
Yeah.
So fucking good. Let's go.
And then you get the bigger one. I love when you go into the village and you go to meet is it Golgra, the chief.
Yeah,
And I laughed so hard when I walked in and all I could see was all the adults lined up doing push-ups.
yeah,
I was like, they're very much a let's go, bro, kind of like attitude, and like let's fucking fight, bro. I was like, these guys are fucking crazy. I think they are interesting new creatures that I have never seen in anything else.
yeah.
Their own interesting aesthetic, and they add much needed levity to the story. So
Right, because we're dealing
so
with some
dark and
dark
so
shit.
emotional that they actually and they don't it's not a weird tone change. They somehow manage to fit them in a way where it's like I can have a laugh now and it's okay. Hey, let's have a good time. And then let's get back to the serious shit. You know what I mean? They don't like some things where they put in a comedic character and every time something's dark, they lighten the mood just to it's like oh, just in case it gets too dark. They never do that. They have their
No,
moments and
yeah,
it's
they let each moment take the so with the gestuals, it's comedy is taking the moment. You can even tell with the music when you're fighting the Sakapatants or whatever the hell they're called, they're weird
oh yeah
dog
yeah.
things. So with them, it's like very yeah, it is comedic, and every time, even when you do side quests with them and stuff, it is comedic. They're hilariously stupid. And then yes, when it gets to dark, they just let the dark have its moments. I like the fact that also their hair is made of paintbrushes.
Yeah, it looks
Paintbrush
great.
hairs like
Yeah.
yeah, and then that's kind of your main hub for buying stuff as well as the Gestural Village, which you
It's
need.
Yeah, and it's also where you meet CL.
Yes.
Comes into the
Yeah,
party,
in
and
the arena.
it's the first time you have to start making choices about, well, which one do I leave out of the party now, and that
Mm.
starts getting. One thing I do wish in the combat system, which is fantastic, and we spoke about that in our non-spoilers anyway. The combat is great to this game, very Final Fantasy X inspired, but also Sea of Stars inspired as well, and a few other games.
Mm.
Obviously, Dark Souls inspired or Soulsborne-ish. But I do wish you could swap characters in and out,
Yes.
much like 10, because I didn't always know who I wanted or needed.
Mm.
And I get to a fight then and I go, oh, for this particular thing, I need this person because they have that one ability I could do with. And if I could just swap them in, I would use them now, and it's
Yeah.
something that I wish you could do.
Yeah, I wish you could do swapping as well because sometimes like my L has maybe an ability that like can take away shields straight away
Mm,
and does damage. So sometimes you fight an enemy that's got shields on him and you're like, oh well, kind of wish I had my L right now.
yeah,
And
yeah.
apparently there's an option to flee, and I never found out what it was.
There is an option to flee, and I only ever used it once.
How do you flee in the game? I never flee.
So it comes up as a little option at the bottom, and you hold down a stick, and when the circle goes fully around, it's you want to flee.
Oh, that would have been so handy
And I
in
think you can
many
only,
fights.
I think you can only do it with all three people. So I think once people are dead, you can't. I
No, but like
think I'm
so
not sure.
yeah, but like sometimes it's just like I could have like resurrected somebody. If I went, oh, I'm in a fight that's too tough, I could have resurrected someone and then fleed, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never knew. I just had to either let my people die or just
Yes.
keep
Yeah.
fighting.
Yeah. Um. I'm trying to.
Ciel's intro though, because
Yeah.
that's what we were just talking about, Ciel. I
Yeah.
thought was I will admit that I said this to you before off podcast. I think her design and her personality don't fully match.
Hmm.
And I did think it's like, oh, I kind of thought she was going to be like back to Final Fantasy X, but this is more 10 too. I thought she was going to be the pain of the group.
Right.
Well, she's a bit more of the.
Pain in the ass. No.
She's more like the Aerith of the group almost, or something. You know, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Aerith, where she has that
Yeah. A
like
little bit cheeky. A little bit
cheeky, yeah,
flirtatious. I'll be honest. She's my least favorite party member as a character. Her abilities are really cool. Everyone's going to have their own favorites, though. So some people
yeah,
are going to be like, "No, Ciel's the best. What's wrong with you?" I just think she doesn't get developed enough. Um, I did get some of her backstory and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I think her role in the party doesn't feel like Lune. Lune is amazing, and her role in the party is very defined. She's almost like the pragmatic. This is what we need to do. Mael is very clearly the main character of the story. You
mm,
know, Gustav plays a hugely important role, which we will talk about very shortly. Um, and yeah, and even like when we get to Minoko later, like he adds great levity, because he's kind of a comedic character,
mm.
but he's also a fucking amazing warrior. Like if you, oh my god, he became my like main guy. I used him in every battle after a while. Like in the end, him, Lune, and Mael were my three.
Really?
Yeah, they became my three. And Minoko fucked people up because the more you use him in battle, the more abilities you get for him, and some of them
Yeah.
are so strong that like he just fucked people up. Like that what we were just saying about the Jess was the Sakupate thing or whatever. The with the that could shoot with the cannons.
All right. Yeah.
Like when I got Minoko that ability, oh my god, because it does burn damage every turn as well.
Fuck.
Like he's so powerful. But anyway, that's besides the point. I do think CL is the least interesting party member, which is a shame because I think she looks so cool that she could have been more interesting.
Hmm.
But that's just my take.
She's very human, but I understand that, like, you have the main character, you have Gustav as sort of the almost like the glue of the group. So Miles, the main character, Gustav is the glue.
Hmm.
Lune is the cartographer, I suppose. Like she's the one mapping it out. She's the pragmatic one. Minoko's the comedic one, and then Ciel is the the horny one.
Yeah, like the one that you can go with if you want.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
like, I wait a minute, I didn't know this was an option. Like, can I go back?
yeah, yeah. Is it after here where you get Mael's nightmare?
Um, yes.
Oh my God. Oh my God. As soon as the screen changed, like it changed what's the fucking word?
The like kind of what screen the it
Dimensions
went
or
uh
fucking display
it
or
went
whatever.
four by three. It went four
It
by
was
three, didn't
fucking
it?
amazing and it went black and white and it was real French artsy kind of shit.
Mm.
And it was like, okay, there's something more going on here. And that's so cool. I was like, I thought that was amazing. And that's obviously before you meet SKA. But did you want to say anything on the nightmare necessarily at the moment, or?
Well, this is the real confirmation, isn't it, that Mael is the main
Yes.
character. And I mean, the minute you see the daughter with the mask,
Oh
that's in
yes.
this scene, isn't
Yeah, I think
it?
so.
I looked at it and went, well,
Well, that's my L.
that's Mael. That
Yeah, me too. I was
okay?
like, that's definitely my L.
How did Mael not look at her and go, you look like me?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I think the black and white was obviously a way of trying to mask that a little bit more as well.
But it's the eyes. Mael has such
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
such like soul staring eyes. It's like,
yeah,
Jesus, woman, stop staring at me. So when you see the masked woman, her eyes are like the same, and it's like, well,
yeah.
that's Mael's eyes. So that's Mael.
And then Renoir telling Mael this is all your fault and stuff, and you're like,
Mm,
what the fuck does that mean? Which obviously makes sense later, but
yeah.
um, and then we meet SKA,
Yeah, we go to his cave to get SK.
mon ami. Uh, oh,
He's
I need Flory. He's basically Baymax.
the best.
Is he your favorite?
He's pretty good. He's a pretty
Yeah,
cool guy.
yeah. He again adds a little bit of levity to the story. He's sort of the comic relief. He's so weird, and I was kind of like, why? Like this guy likes rocks, and that's what helps him fly. And I was like, none of this makes sense. This guy's weird, and it all makes sense in the end. Like all of it, anything that feels like that's a bit childish makes sense in the end. And you go, wow, wow. There's a
Dang.
reason for even why SKA, like, why does SKA seem like they were, made up by a 5-year-old? There's a reason. I think that's very impressive, actually. And it allows for, yes, we can have a really goofy JRPG style character in here, but we're also going to make it make sense. We're going to
Yes.
ground it in the what's really going on in the story. That's really impressive.
Yeah, I think does he voice Francois as well, who's
I think so. Yeah.
SK's next door
Arch
neighbor.
enemy.
Arch enemy, but best friend.
Yeah,
Next
yeah.
door neighbor.
He loves Francois. Yeah, there's a really funny bit, and it's much later in the game, but there's a really funny bit where you go up to talk to SK, at the camp, and he's like,
Uh,
I'm mad. I'm
yeah.
so mad. He has lots of really like funny dialogue. I remember him trying to tell me as well about something that was woo-wee, but
Yeah,
not
it's like
quite woo-woo. But then I was like, what are you
some-
talking about?
sometimes I'm woo, and then sometimes I'm wee. So right now you're just woo. And you did a bit more wee.
It's his way of like trying to say you need to lighten up a bit.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, he does. He has great interactions and stuff. And I suppose getting him is sort of a lead up to like the end of Act One, where
Yes.
we get one of the most shocking moments in the game, and it's only the end of Act One,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes you realize, oh, nobody in this game is safe. I think the move to, and this is the role Gustav plays. So Renoir shows up in what is one of the most incredible cutscenes ever. Gustav and Mael throwing stones again, as they always do.
Mm.
It's a really nice, touching moment. I felt like that's going to play a role at some point. And then you just hear that walking stick again, and I was so shocked when he attacked Gustav, and it was like, holy fuck, Gustav is not going to survive this, because I was like, I was getting at that point that Mael is really the main character, but that maybe
Yeah.
we're going to be looking, it's going to be like kind of like like you start as Joel, but really it's Ellie's story.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I kind of thought. I was like, we're playing as Gustav, but it's going to be Mael's story by the end of all this. And to have him killed was such a genius move, I think, because it was like nobody is safe. So don't for the rest of this game, you do not know what's going to happen. You thought this guy was the protagonist. We got Charlie Cox playing him. We wrote the fuck out of him. We made him like a leading man. And
The
then
first act is named after him.
we killed him.
Yeah.
I feel like it wouldn't have been as impactful if they had killed CL or Lune, to be honest with you, at that point.
No.
I think we would have just been like, oh shit, we lost one of the characters, you know? I think by killing him, who was your lead, and even the person in the prologue and everything,
Yeah.
it was like, oh fuck, I don't know what's going to happen in this game. Like, it was a brilliant move.
It's a great moment as well, because I actually tried. He gets hit first, and then he decides to keep attacking. He decides to stand his ground to attack Renoir.
Yes.
And I actually tried to heal myself, and I was like, oh, fuck, I can't. And I tried to attack Renoir, and it just didn't do anything to him. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And it just
makes you feel powerless.
and it really elevates Renoir to this point of like, this is like some Sephirothian fucking moments, to be honest. Like, he's
a good villain.
in such a short. That's like the third time you're actually meeting Renoir.
Yeah.
In the game.
Yeah.
And in those 3 moments, he has probably become more impactful than a lot of the other villains in many other games. Yeah. Not even just in just JRPGs, just in so many other games, he has become way more impactful and way more iconic. And then as the game progresses, he just begets way more. He just becomes way more. But yeah, like that death is so becomes such a pivotal awakening for all the characters. As I stated, a glue. It glues them together in the motivation to keep going, Gustav, to keep writing in his journal for his apprentices, and then to kill Renoir when they meet him. Like everyone, like most people, the 3 people, Ciel, Lune, and Mael, all get that unified motivation to kill Renoir.
And of course, the other character who comes in now is Verso. And he already has that motivation.
He already has that motivation.
Yeah, no, but he also is like, yeah, we're going to kill that guy. So this takes us on to Act 2, actually. And just so people know, we're probably not going to spend as long on Act 2 as Act 1. I suppose I'm not going to go beat for beat. It was because in Act 1, we get introduced to each character. So there's a good opportunity to talk about each one as we go. And also like the gestures and all that kind of stuff. But like, obviously, we want to talk about Verso. We did mention Minoko already. We kind of jumped ahead. And then we'll talk about other, like, the key moments of Act 2. But Act 2 is the longest act, and it's the bulk of the game, really.
Yes.
I would say. Unless you could spend a lot of time in Act 3, can't you?
You can indeed. But Act 3, as I think I stated to you in my, like, kind of non-spoiler take on the game, because I had cleared it. I think I said Act 3 was like Disc 3 of Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, it's how much time you want to spend on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Act 2 is the bulk of the game. We're introduced to Verso, played by Ben Starr.
Yeah, Clive Rossfield.
Clive Rossfield, very much. Who has a great interactions with SK and Minoko. That's where you do get a lot of the comedy conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And
especially his interaction with Minoko, where he convinces Minoko to come, or Minoko's like, I don't want to come. It's going to be a lot of fighting. No, that's true. There will be a lot of fighting. You like to fight? Yeah, I love to fight. Okay.
All right, let's do this.
I don't know. It was absolutely brilliant.
That interaction. And then so many others, the camps are great. But like, Verso is like the Aragorn of the group.
Yeah. Yeah. He looks like him.
Well, he is. He's the one. He comes around to save them.
Yeah, on Weathertop. Yeah, he's like Strider. Yeah, okay, I see it.
Yeah, and then he's like, all right, I gotta take you to Rivendell.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing is, and I did say this to you before off podcast, because we couldn't talk about Verso at all because he's a big kind of secret, really, because of what happens. I felt that I don't think you should play as him in camps, and I know it's okay. Because he doesn't know the girls, he can build a relationship with them. So you get that little mini game. I don't really need it to be honest with you. And then he could catch up with Minoko and SK, but I felt like those could be cutscenes. I really felt like we should be playing as Mael after we lose Gustav, but that I could go talk to Verso and ask him questions and learn more about him and be really like puzzled why he's so mysterious and he's eluding certain questions. And I felt wrong playing as him in the camp,
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
be honest.
that is fair because it kind of like what's the motivation for him to try to get to know everybody, I suppose.
Mm.
Shouldn't he already have a good established relationship with SK and Minoko? Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it does make sense to play as Mael, especially considering. But then you get that tree, and you know why.
yeah,
It's
but
tough to
even no,
wrap up.
even still, I still don't think you should have played as Verso in the camps.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think they should have named the acts after people. I think it would have given them much more.
It was just Act One, Act Two.
Well, they could have named them anything.
Hmm.
Act one, the expedition. Act two,
The Paintress.
Act three, then whatever. Right. Well, if you say Act two, the Paintress, but yeah, I do agree that it is weird. The playing as Verso in the camp. You get used to it because that is the bulk of the game.
Yeah, I know. Like after a while, you're just like, well, that's just what it is. I
That's what
remember
it
at
is.
first I was like, this feels weird.
Hmm.
This guy just came in, and now he's like cracking jokes with people, and he's being Clive basically for
He is
a
glad.
huge bulk of the game. I feel like later on, when you know who he is, he actually finally becomes his own character. It's like he's putting on an act, really, for most of the game.
I think he is.
He is putting on an act. He's
Yeah.
pretending because he's pretending he was on an exhibition before, and that that's what this is all about. And it's like, but it's not. Um, of course, we get his relationship with Renoir then in Act Two as well. You find out
Hmm.
that Renoir is his father, and you're like, okay, that doesn't surprise me. They look alike. To be honest, that doesn't surprise me. I still think there's more to this, though. And you're kind of going, right, so they're related, and the way they're talking about Mael really seems like Mael is also related to them somehow.
Hmm.
And there was early thoughts of her being like, I never knew my parents, and I was adopted, and you're like, okay, okay. She looks up to Gustav as an older brother, so maybe it's to fill a void of a missing brother. It's all very, it's like, oh, there's all the little clues and the hints are there.
Mm.
Um, I suppose one of the key story moments in Act Two earlier on is they get to bury Gustav, though, so at least he is given a proper send off.
He is. Is that before? That's before, isn't it? The
For
yeah, yeah. So that's you land. You're now swimming as SK. He's got
yeah,
Flory, the Rock,
Flurry.
and he can
Yeah,
swim around. So you swim to the battlefield, which I think is a really cool
amazing area.
art piece. Yes, and then oh yes, it's
They're
after
really
that.
cool
Then
enemies too.
yeah, really cool enemies, really cool art piece. Reminds me of very World War One, and then so many expeditioners died. It's
Yeah,
fucking tragic, but yeah. Then you get the Barry SK Gustav. The bear, the only thing you have left is his arm.
yeah.
You get to bury him, his robotic arm. And then you cross the bridge and you enter the boss fights of all boss fights.
I think everyone agrees. Maybe not. Pete, let us know, guys, what you're. Because first of all, I do want to say, right, the fights in this game are great, but the boss fights are special.
Hmm.
Boss fights are incredible, right? Obviously, some of them are very tricky and very hard and difficult, and you got to learn the ways around it. But they really stand out. And the duelist to this day was, I think, the best boss fight in the whole game. It is fucking incredible. Not just his move set, our character's move set, the music, the vibes. I think it was also the moment. I don't know why. I think it was the moment where the combat finally clicked for me as well. Like I felt like before that, I was just kind of getting by and still getting used to it. And this was the moment where I was really parrying and I was doing the gradient counters and I was using all the abilities and I was going, this fucking rocks. And then you got down into the other area where all the blood and stuff, and it was like
Hmm.
seriously like Dark Souls ish,
Hmm.
but with Final Fantasy X combat, and I'd like, oh, it was such a good fight. I loved it.
Yeah, so that go from the emotion of Gustav to the epicness of fighting the duelist to the final epic cinematic of defeating the duelist where everyone gets involved in killing it was
Yeah,
just I think the moment where it's like this is awesome.
yeah,
It's like this was awesome and I was like awesome 2.0. It's
Yeah.
awesome squared.
Yeah, it's awesome by itself. Yeah, it was fucking incredible. There's a few really good, like a lot of great fights and stuff in Act Two. I suppose like there's the point as well where you have to, as you said to me at one, I was like, do I have to grind? You're like, you'll get to a point where there's a choice of two things. I would grind then.
Yeah, yeah.
So I took your advice and I went around grinding a little bit. I did find that actually in trying to grind, a lot of the enemies were harder than just doing the main stuff.
Right, because sometimes you can find these enemies called chromatic nevrons, and they're a fucking prick.
Oh, everything I found seemed to be a chromatic Nevron. I couldn't fucking find regular enemies to fight. I just kept I'd find something, it would do 10 moves and kill me. And I go, okay, well, not that one then. So then I try somewhere else and I go, okay, well, not that one then. And I go, Joe, fuck this. I just gotta continue. I cannot find regular enemies to fight.
There's lots of regular enemies on beaches and stuff.
I couldn't fucking find
if they're
anything.
in a group, they're regular enemies.
All right, yeah, sure. Well, I am. Yeah, so there was the two Axons I think are very key fights in Act Two.
Yeah, that's after Old Lumiere, isn't it? So we've now gotten
Oh yeah,
Minoko. We've gone to Minoko Station. We get Minoko, where
yeah.
even he has the point where it's the little gestural Noko comes up and he's like, "Hold on, son. I'm here to kick some people's asses." He decides to fight you.
Ah,
He's
little Noko.
oh fucking Minoko is so
You know,
good.
Minoko is named after one of the developers' dogs.
Is it? That's brilliant.
Yeah.
But Noko's like his whole introduction was so fucking good. It's brilliant. And then he brings you to Old Lumiere because that's where the heart of the paintress is.
Love
Ursa tells you.
love the music there.
Mm.
Like actually, I think my favorite piece of music in the whole game is the battle theme in Old Lumiere.
I'll have to go back to listen
It's
to
a
it.
really sad
Oh,
version of the main theme. It's
oh, I'll
really
have to
good.
go play the whole game again to
Oh
listen to it.
no.
Oh no. I think it's there as well. Is that Minoko tries to do something great and he causes a big explosion that separates everybody?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
He starts crying.
He was trying to show off, wasn't he? And then they're like, "Will you pull yourself together?"
That's
I wish there was more points like that though, because that was a point where they split the party up and it makes you play as everyone.
yes.
And I kind of wish there was other points like that, because I think unless it makes you do it, sometimes it's hard. If you've been playing with three people for a while, and then they're leveled up way more than the other two, it can be hard to go back because you're like, well, now these guys are so good that I kind of want to keep going with them.
Yeah, I kind of tend to do a thing of like when someone leveled up, I'd immediately swap them for someone else to try keep everyone balanced as possible.
Hmm.
That's what I did. But yeah, you get Lumiere, old Lumiere. You go through there, and yeah, you have like the swords, the golden swords leaking,
Yeah,
which
it
was
looks so
awesome.
fucking cool.
I think that's when you see the first Axon. It's like a really giant person that's dead.
What are axons?
They're the big things.
But what are they? We don't know, do
They're,
we?
um,
Like, what separates them from a Neveron? Because there's also really big Neverons.
right. So
What's the
Axons.
difference?
Well, they're the guardians of the barrier, aren't they?
I don't know. You tell me.
Okay,
I have
sorry.
no
Okay,
idea.
right, sorry. Okay, yes, I realized that you didn't do anything else other than okay. So each of the axons. So I think there's four. One is dead in Old Lumiere. You have the dancer
Hmm.
in that weird
Her name is
temple,
Seren, right?
Seren. You have Visage,
Visage, yeah.
and then you have the Reacher. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
which is in the tower. Did you do that one?
I was on my way to do that. I haven't finished it.
Okay, so they're actually each a representation
Yeah.
of I don't know what the fourth one is, but the other three are representations of the paintress's children.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
So because they're the representation of them, she would have poured a little more heart and soul into them. So now they're much powerful beings that protect the barrier, so to protect her.
Okay, cool. Uh yeah, so they're kind of like the super bosses in the game in a way, kind of
Yes,
thing. Um the two that you have to fight, Visage and Seren. Which one did you prefer?
I preferred Visage.
Yeah, me too.
Seren kicked my ass.
All right. I kicked Seren's ass.
Nah, she was fucking destroying me with her charming ability.
Ah, I destroyed her.
I did not.
I put
I
the
did not get
anti-charm
a hand.
Pictos once I got that on someone.
See, here's
That
the
was the
thing.
end of that. That was the end of that.
Here's the thing.
All right.
I didn't know she was going to charm me, so I
No.
didn't know to put anti-charm on. So therefore,
As soon as I found anti-charm, I put it on because too many of her enemies did it, her servants. So I was like, I'll put that on. This whole place is this.
see,
This is going to be important.
this is the thing though. None of her enemies charmed my people. I
Oh
kept
no,
fucking them
mine did.
up.
No, mine did. Yeah,
I
yeah,
kept, so I didn't know about charm, even though they actually tell you when you
yeah,
enter her temple, everyone gets charmed. So they actually tell you.
yeah.
I just didn't cop on. I didn't even know there was an anti-charm Pictos. Uh, I wasn't paying attention to them at all. I was just like, all right, just throw a new one on.
It was some journey looking shit, wasn't it?
Fairy
Her
journey
area.
looking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so cool.
The
Um,
the yeah, the dresses and shit like that.
but
The
I
weird
liked
platforms as well to go around.
I liked Visage more because, well, first of all, I really actually liked the cool Mask Master character that he
Mm,
really is that you end up fighting. But also, I really liked that there was these optional areas, and yes, it would take longer, but that way you could actually weaken the boss. There's a
yes.
tactic to weaken the boss, and I thought that system worked really, really well.
I
Um,
wonder what it's like fighting him if you don't weaken him.
oh yeah, maybe I'll
So
find out
I
next time.
weakened
I
the
don't
shit. I
know.
fucking did all of them. I weakened the shit out of
Yeah,
him.
and then I fucked him up. But by
I
doing
fucked.
that one, because I did that one first,
Yeah.
I grinded enough then that Seren's, yeah, I fucked her up. She was no
Not
problem.
her. I actually like so Visage. I fucked up.
Yeah.
Right. Um. Actually, we have to go back to the old Lumiere. We forgot something, but anyway. So I fucked up Visage, but Seren kept. I had no anti-charm, and I didn't know she was going to charm me, so she
Mm,
kept charming everyone, so they'd kill each other, and then I couldn't time the dodging or parrying just right when her little minions would swoop at you,
hmm.
so they were doing damage to me. I had only Minoko left.
I'm telling you, lads,
Everyone else was
Minoko
dead.
is the guy.
And
He's the
Minoko
guy.
was the guy who
He's the
fucked.
guy.
He was get. I was like, if I get hit one more time, I'm dead. And no, he did something to fucking just finish her. I was like, oh fuck.
I'm gonna say Minoko plays like his role in the party is very much that of Kamari Ronso from Final Fantasy
Mm,
X. He's the enemy skill character. He learns the enemy skills and uses them against them. But it is so much better in this game because with Kamari it only works when you do a certain ability and it only works on certain enemies. So you're chancing it every time, and you don't like it's the Lancet ability, and
mm.
Whereas Minoko, if you just have him in the party, nearly every fight with new enemies, he will gain a new ability.
Yeah, because he takes their feet.
And it's just, and then you end up with countless abilities you can try out with him. So he just
Yeah.
becomes this enemy skill powerhouse if you keep him around. He's great. But I suppose the reason you do those two fights is to create the sword to bring. Why did you want to go back to Old Lumiere?
Because of what happens at the end of Old Lumiere.
Yeah,
Because
we
we
talked.
mentioned,
Yeah, Red Wars versus Dad. Yeah, we got that.
yeah, but we never mentioned what happened to Noko. Minoko's motivation to
Oh,
then defeat Renwar is because Renwar
yes.
kills Noko. The
That's when
bastard!
that's when SKS says that was mean.
Yeah.
I'm so mad. Yeah, poor Noko.
Yeah.
He was a funny, cute little dude. You're like, oh fuck, everyone's gonna fucking die in this game,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just like, fucking
and
stop it, Renwar. You
and and
bastard.
and they do. But yeah, we breached the barrier.
Barrier breaker, yes. We
And
create the sword. The
so
curator
that's
creates the sword.
so cool. You get into the barrier, you get into the monolith, and it starts going through all of the areas you've been before,
Mm.
right? And then you get to that's all amazing. You get another amazing fight with Renoir. Some dialogue is said that really confused the shit out of me between
Mm.
the curator and Renoir about someone's son, and he's not your son, and that's my son, and I was like, what? Um, and then you fight the paintress,
Yeah, and we're
and
still
I
in Act 2, by the way, guys.
yeah,
We're still.
and I remember being like, hold on, did I miss? Did I miss where it said Act 3? And was before I go into the barrier, was that like was I supposed to do extra stuff before I go in, and that's the last because it's replayed the whole story again. It feels I've had loads of bosses on the way. It
Mm.
feels like a final dungeon.
And you have those.
I killed Renoir,
Yeah,
and
and you
then
have. Yeah.
I'm fighting the Paintress, who is the big boss, the god. So I was like, am I at the end of the game? And did I just miss the I honestly thought I was at the end of the game, and then I missed it saying
So I
I was
actually,
so
'cause
convinced that I was at the end.
I actually afterwards telling you that there's 3 acts, regretted I told you 3 acts. I was like, oh fuck, did I just spoil on Chris? So I'm glad that you thought.
I honestly thought I was like I missed where it says Act 3 because this is so clearly the end.
I'm so glad you
Right?
had
I
that. Okay,
was
yeah,
convinced, and that's why, like, I stayed up really late because I was like, I'm about to finish this, like, and like, I got so fucking, and that's why, and then I got fucked off because I was so tired, and and the page just kicked my ass, and I was good, and I went, oh my god, I should have, because I never saw Act Three, and then I was convinced I missed it. I was like, I should have grinded before going in. I'm not ready for this. Like, fuck. And then I asked you, like, I saw the flag, it can go back to the continent. I was like, if I go back, do I have to do all of this again? Because I'm literally at the Patriots. And you were like, oh, I don't know, actually. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I was so close to leaving
yeah.
and going out and just fucking grinding. And I was like, what if I have to do all those boss fights, all that? Like, you spend a long time in the
Yeah.
monolith. Like, it's a huge chunk. Um, the Paintress fight was epic, but I did find it one of the harder fights in the game
I
personally. I
I
found her
pretty
so hard.
I'm pretty sure I kicked her ass.
I think it's
But
just
actually, no. I think I had a very balanced fight with the Paintress.
I think I just couldn't quite time her move set. I was finding it
Right.
really hard to dodge a lot of her onslaught of stuff that just fucks you up. Um, there was a moment here that confused me though. But there's going to be a few moments, and we're going to have to talk about all this now because this is what comes up next, right? First of
Yeah.
all, really epic fight and all this blah blah,
Mm.
and then when she starts healing you as you're killing her, there's something very tragic about it. It feels it's very like it's cool that it's done in gameplay, but like in her final form when she's just like healing you instead of attacking you, and you're killing her, it's like this feels off. This doesn't feel right, you know. And I put the flag, and that's when I went, nah, this isn't over. This is not over. There's something else. This is not right. It felt like it was because we killed Renoir, we killed the
Mm.
Paintress, but I was like, no, Verso's looking suspicious too. Something's not right. Um, but yeah, one bit that confused me was he threw a stone at Esquier so they could fly away, and I was like, when the fuck did he get that?
I think he always had sorry.
Right, that bothers me. I'm like, why would he not have given it to him earlier?
I think he says I think he
Flying
gives
would
a
have been
reason.
handy.
I think he gives a reason. I can't remember what the reason is.
It's a silly thing, isn't it? It's like I just feel like getting the stone should have been in the same way as they had to get the first one for the swim. That you had to get it. Like maybe it's one last thing before you go into the monolith is listen, we're gonna need a quick escape out.
Hmm.
I know somewhere we can go, it's gonna help SK fly. Or you know, just one last little thing. It was a silly detail, but it's just when he threw it, I was like, why wouldn't he use it earlier? That seems so like they forgot to put it in. I just went, oh shit, Verso had it. Yeah, there we go. Like it's a little it's not a great piece of writing in that particular part,
Hmm.
um but yeah, it's all over. They've won. They've won.
They beat the Paintress. The numbers
Beat
have
the
stopped.
Paintress. The numbers have stopped. They go back to Lumiere. Big celebration. Hey, they had planted the flag. That was really cool. I loved that. It was really like, yes, we did it. Um, Verso reads the letter. He doesn't look happy. He looks kind
No.
of suspicious the whole time. He reads the letter that you're kind of like, once you hear it, you're like, whoa, play that one more time. I need to hear that again. What did you just say? And then this huge wave. And I'll be honest, the people who were in their 30s disappearing didn't shock me. I was kind of like, they didn't win and they've run out of time. And those people are now gone. But when the kids disappeared, I was like, what the fuck? And everyone got Thanos snapped out of existence. What'd you make of all that?
That was awesome because when we got to the end, I actually thought to myself, "Oh, is there only two acts to the game?"
Yeah.
I did actually think that. I did think I was at the end. I just thought, "Oh, they did that thing where nothing's really explained, but it's kind of half explained, and so you piece shit together." I'm like, "No, this story seems too complicated for that." So yeah, well, that moment happened, and I was like, "This is totally wicked. It's still going.
Yeah.
Give me more."
And you're kind of going, where can we go from here?
Yeah, and just that's the yeah, that moment, like the moment of the realization that the Paintress wasn't the one gommaging everyone. She was just doing a countdown to let everyone
She
know
was warning people.
yeah, when the curator is going to gommage everyone. And the curator is the guy who's been helping you the whole time.
Yeah, because he
That's
wants you to stop the Paintress.
so that he can gavage everyone, and he does.
Because she's so from what I gathered in, right? So now we're getting into the explanation
Yes.
of what's really going on. And I think we should tie this into Act 3 because I know it comes in the form of an epilogue,
Mm,
which is the past, and it's making you think this is the end of the game. But then they
mm.
give you the surprise Act 3, and you go, "Holy fuck, we're still going!" Um, so yeah, I think we'll tie all of this, the explanation and the ending, all together in our Act 3 section, right? So yeah, try to make sense of all of this. I was even trying to find it hard to. There's some of it I still don't quite follow. I get what's going on, but there's certain where I'm like, wait, so who painted the version of Renoir that we fought and killed,
The
and
Patriots.
what? And so she painted her husband.
To be loyal to her, protect her creation.
So why was he killing the expeditioners? So to protect her,
To
because they're
protect
out to
her.
kill her.
Right. And she doesn't want to die.
But in doing that, he's wiping out the people she's trying to save.
I'm not saying her plan is good.
Yeah. It's just there's little bits like that where I was getting confused, or I was going, "Who is?" So the curator.
Well, we also have to take into account that her creations of Renoir and Verso and everything,
Mm,
they do have a mind of their own. Because even though
right.
she painted and created Verso, Verso still wanted to put it to an end,
Yes.
which would not
Yes.
match with what she would have wanted. So Renoir was obviously doing what he felt was best. To considering you do find in the final battle,
Yeah.
there is you can get SK to find a journal
That's right.
in the
Yeah. I
water.
found that one. Yeah.
And that explains that everyone got really macho and buff and went naked and they breached the paintress. And that was like a
Yes.
really early one. And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
found
Yeah.
out, I think they found out that the paintress wasn't the issue. One of them swam back because
And
he's
that's where
that
he
fucking
died. Yeah.
macho.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he gamaged because that's such a funny journal, but it's also really tragic. And
Because
that's a
like
really
he was
early
really
one.
close to letting everyone know it's not the Patriots at all. It's the
Yeah.
person underneath the monolith, which is actually the curator.
Yes. So that happened so early on, and they were all ready to kill her.
Mm.
And then so many other people. That probably would have influenced Renoir to start killing people.
So yeah, so I suppose what's really going on then, and to clarify, I guess, this world was created by
Hmm.
Verso.
Yes.
It's part of, so they come from they're from a different world. Maybe it's the real world, maybe it's not. It's hard to know whether any of this is actually real, or it depends on how you look at it. Are they gods that can create worlds, but they call it painting? Or are they humans and none of this is real, and it's kind of the never ending story where it's just these are all just characters in a story that don't actually exist? There's a debate to be had about all of that, I think.
Hmm.
But so Verso painted this world, which is they're all his creations at first.
Hmm.
And then there was a fire that killed him,
Hmm.
which was caused by his sister Alicia, and she also got damaged in the fire. Is that right?
I thought it was caused by the writers.
Oh, it was caused by but then why does Alicia feel guilty? She does feel a tremendous
I'm
guilt about it.
assuming she
Oh, there was
must
a
have
war with the
done.
writers, right?
There's a war with the writers. So they're the painters and they're at war with the writers, which kind of hints the fact that there can be a sequel. But I
Yeah.
would think, I'm assuming it's that Alicia must not have done something, or maybe she was in league with the writers, or something like that. Anyway, she done something that caused Verso's death in the fire, and she also got
But
damaged.
yeah,
Or it's survivor's guilt.
she feels responsible.
Hmm.
She got damaged in the fire. Verso died in the fire, and the whole story is actually about family grief.
Hmm.
The mother has been living inside Verso's painting in the hopes of trying to stay with him and keep him
Hmm.
alive. And the father Renoir is also inside the painting, but he's tried to destroy it so that she could come back to reality.
Yes.
And again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's like, who's right, who's wrong, and this perspective becomes, and we'll be jumping around a bit here, I think, because it all ends up tying into the ending.
Hmm.
But that all ties into the final conflict, which is actually not between the party and Renoir. It's actually between Mael and Verso. they end up becoming that one of them agrees with the paintress, one of them agrees with Renoir. It's kind of weird because you just stopped Renoir from doing the thing that then you end up deciding you want to do, as in Verso.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Renoir is like, I want to destroy this entire canvas, and then it's like we're going to stop you, but I also want to destroy this entire canvas. Like that's a bit confusing, but so the curator is the real Renoir, right?
The curator's the real Renoir, and
He's
then
the
you
one that's
have
been gamaging everything. He
yeah,
created the Nevrons as because he paints death.
right.
That he created creatures that would destroy the canvas, destroy people. The Patriots paints life. She keeps bringing new people into it.
Hmm.
To try and keep Verso's world alive.
He created the Gestrels, which include and things like SK Francois and then
Yeah.
Minoko, which Minoko is a Gestral, but that's why they're so childish and silly, is because Verso would have created them when he was a child. Um,
And oh, the painters painted Verso as well, right?
the painters painted Verso, Renoir, and Alicia. The one that's with the burnt
It's
face
interesting
in
that
the
she painted Verso as a perfect grown man, the way maybe she wanted him to grow up to be. She painted her husband as she saw him as well. But she did not paint her daughter the way her daughter used to be or how her daughter should be. She painted her daughter flawed.
hmm.
That's a really interesting when you think about it. And then of course Alicia
Oh,
goes into the painting.
sorry, apologies actually, now you've mentioned that.
Yeah.
I need to go back on something. When we were talking about the Axons, I said that the painters painted them. I was incorrect. Renoir painted them. Because the
Okay.
Reacher is Alicia and he paints her that way as that he sees her as someone reaching for the stars. Each one of them is actually Renoir's rendition of his own children.
It's all very deep, isn't it?
It's very fucking deep. But anyway, so we have the epilogue. It's 16 years earlier.
No, it's
We
not.
are
It's way more than that, isn't it?
thought it was 16 years earlier is the epilogue before Act 3. We play as Mael. That's when we find out that all this takes place in a painting. That's when we find out that
What did you think of that at first? Were you like, ah, this kind of takes the stakes away, or were you like, holy shit, that's a mind-blowing twist? Like, what was your? Because I
uh
think there is different takes on that.
I was a little I was glad for it
Okay.
because there are too many RPGs that do the whole like um rush an explanation or their story is too convoluted that it kind of doesn't make sense. Like was it all a dream? Was Titus even real? Who fucking knows? Like no, like that shit is just so when they did this thing, yes, it's airy fairy magic, right? It's like is what do you mean they're painters and that comes to life and stuff like that? But you know what? It's magic. You know, it's realm of
Yeah, it's a
disbelief.
fantasy. Like,
Yeah, so I liked it because it's you go, I get it. The paintress is the mother. The curator is the father. They're battling over the concept of how they should handle their son's death.
yeah,
Grief. One wants to cling to the past. One wants to go, no, we need to move on. Who is right? You are wanting to move in. You're sent in by your oldest sister, played by Lae'zel. Just fun fact.
hey,
So she sends Alicia in, who can't talk because her face is scarred and her throat got damaged, to send her in to stop the squabbling. I think is how your oldest sister refers to it.
yeah,
Your older sister is very like, these people are idiots. We got a war with the writers to win. I was like, I'm sorry, what? What are we doing in Act 3 then if there's a war with the writers?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, but no, I didn't mind it. I did not mind it because it added a depthness to the world that I thought was really nice. That it made everything feel weirdly enough grounded, even though now you're a goddess entering a realm created by your own parents and stuff, and but it made everything make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because you even said in our initial review of it, you were like, everything looks like a painting because
And that, and
everything's
that
a
and
painting.
that's why, yeah, and
Yeah,
like
that's.
and that's why it's all painter terms, and that's why they say things like "let's spill some ink."
Mm,
Like everything is actually a
a
painting.
painting. Yeah.
But I think as well people could get caught in those words. So I think there's two ways you could look at this. One way is that none of it's real and it's just a fantasy. The other way is that no, they paint worlds. They're
Mm,
gods.
yeah.
Like it's a metaphor for they are gods and they do create worlds.
Yeah.
But one character, being the father who has become death, is saying you need to let this world go. And the mother, who is the creator, not of this world, but she plays the creator role, is I can't let this world go because it's all that's left of my son. And
Mm,
but so it doesn't necessarily mean that Lune's battle doesn't mean anything because she's not even real, and CL's battle doesn't mean anything because she's not even real. It's like, well, what is real? And that's where you get into a
yes.
whole different debate of like, what does it mean to be alive? If a character has full consciousness and their whole, like CL had a husband and a backstory that she was grieving for, like who painted that, or did the painting become self-aware and become its own thing, there's so many avenues you could go down on that, but I suppose when you get down to the end of it and you have to make a choice on whether to be Mael and to save the painting or to be Verso and to destroy the painting, where did you land on that?
I made a terrible choice, and
Okay,
I sided with my Al.
I also sided with Mael. um I felt that I do feel like Verso's jump to it was a bit sudden.
Well, he always wanted his immortality to end. So I
He
suppose for
did.
him, it's a case of he would have wanted his immortality to end, but then Mael was saying, "No, you have to stay here," which is
Mael's
where his jump is because he's
yeah.
but I wanted to, I don't want to live anymore. It's like, no, 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 it'll all be good, Verso. We'll all live. It's like, no, I don't want to live.
This is yeah, that line is brilliant. I don't want this life.
Yeah, yeah,
That was really like, oh my God, that is hard to listen to.
yeah.
But I think as well, I honestly think the ending to this game is not so like some people call one ending the good ending and another ending the bad ending, right?
Mm.
But that's really open to interpretation because I think this is the next was Joel right debate. Because Verso doesn't want to live. So what? Nobody should?
Mm.
Like Lune doesn't deserve to live? Because Verso is this version of Verso is the same as this version of Lune and this version of CL. They are painted characters.
Mm.
So SK doesn't deserve to live. Minoko doesn't deserve to live. Like nobody else in that entire world deserves to live just because Verso doesn't want to live. That's one way of looking at it. And
I
and like Mael has an opportunity to have a life here, whereas if she goes back, like so, one person could say Mael's being very selfish. You're right, she is. She wants this world because it's much better than her real life. She wants to stay inside the fantasy where she's a hero and she could speak and she's not burnt and disfigured and she has her brother and she has all her friends and life is good.
I don't know if
And then he's being selfish because he wants everything to end so that he can die.
is it
It's
that the
very
whole
difficult.
painting goes, or is it just that he goes?
He wanted Verso, who's at the core of the actual painting. So, like,
The little boy.
yeah, he wanted to stop him from painting. Stop painting. I don't want this anymore, right? The implication is, maybe I'm wrong, but so the implication is that the world of Lumiere exists because Verso painted it. And
Hmm.
then things were added to the painting by Renoir and Aline, the
Right.
parents. The implication is that Verso wants the whole painting to stop because it's the only way he could stop.
Okay, so maybe yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So Verso's ending, did you see Verso's ending?
I don't know. I've only seen Miles.
Then I won't say anything. But it's not so clear cut to me that it depends on your outlook. But I suppose the one thing is that Mael's ending is certainly not a happy ending.
No, it's a
And
bitter. It's a bittersweet ending.
It's a horrible ending. I think they're both bad endings. I don't think there's a good ending.
Well, what I mean by bittersweet is that like everyone's alive again and everyone's happy and everything's working out great.
Right.
But Verso is a prisoner. And you can
Yes.
clearly tell that when he tries, because I've only seen the ending, so we're just going to talk about Miles' ending. How
Yeah.
did you see Verso's ending? Did you look
No,
it
I
up?
just watched it. Yeah.
Fair
I
enough.
went back in to try play it.
Same.
It wasn't there, and I was like,
No.
"What?" So then I watched it because I was like, it might give more context to the ending of the game.
Yeah. So the Verso is not wanting to play the piano. And
No,
then
not at all.
Miles' eyes go into painting mode to
And there's
go,
that scary mode. Yeah,
yeah, and it's like you are going to play, and then he has to play. And it's like that to me was like, oh, that's
it's
so,
horrible.
yeah, that's pretty horrible. Like,
Yeah,
so that's what I mean by bittersweet. It's like it's sweet for Mael and Lune and Ciel. Gustav's back, and Sophia's back, and everyone's back, and isn't that great?
but it's
But
a
then
nightmare for Verso.
it's a nightmare for Verso. So I
Yeah,
will watch Versos then and see
yes.
if it's a harmony for him and a night for everyone else.
No, no, no. It's look at. I'll be honest with you. I think most people would see Versos as the good ending.
Hmm.
Um, but obviously, what it implies or what it means is everyone dies. Everyone's gone. You know. So I'll let you watch it for yourself. See what you think. Um, it depends as well on. I suppose a lot of people would be like, Mael, you need to go back to reality.
Hmm.
You can't like this is you can't just live your life in fantasy. You need to get back to the real world. But then for her, she's like, well, the real world is horrible. When I
Hmm.
go back to the real world, I can't speak, and I'm scarred, and I'm tortured, and we're at war. Like, there's literally nothing good about the real world either. So it's a really interesting and complicated ending to what was a complicated and interesting story.
Hmm.
Um, I found, by the way, just in when you go to Lumiere to do the final fight, and you're running through and you have all the different soldiers attacking and stuff, like it's fucking epic as fuck. Uh, the boss fight before Red War,
With the weird horse thing.
it's the worst. God damn it, that
I,
thing.
I fucked him up.
Good for you. It took
But
me
then
three goes.
I think I was level 77 though doing that fight. So,
Wow, I was level 50. So I have to say, really good Renoir fight. Really balanced.
okay,
Lasted
because,
like I bet him the first time, but it was
yeah,
really good. Um, but the fight with that creation thing, hated it.
yeah,
Hated it
because
so much.
my Red War fight was so easy that I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't great. But no, yeah, I kicked that thing's ass. I think the fucking music. I think I it was at that moment I was
Yes,
going
yeah,
through Lumiere. I messaged you went to find like the music it kicks ass. Fucking kicked ass. That is so fucking good. Going through.
yeah.
I actually a part of me though because Act 3 is your explore moment.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish you went and resurrected all the expeditioners
All right.
to
Wow.
give you the
Okay.
motivation to explore. Because when she just does it in a cutscene, and I'm there, and I'm like,
Yeah, it
okay,
feels like okay. Let's go.
yeah, it's like let's go. So it's like, why would I
Yeah,
go and do anything else?
I
No, I
felt
did
that.
other stuff because why not? But
I felt that, and I also felt when I went to other areas, everything I tried to fight was so hard that I was like, this is impossible. So then I just
mm,
went, fuck this, I'm going to Lumiere. Like if it's gonna be a struggle out here anyway, I might as well struggle in there and try and get to the end of this.
yes, I was the same. I when you go to the areas you can fly to.
Yeah, I got fucked up.
Fucking hell. You have to, yeah, you have to go to the enemies that you found hard previously and kind of work your way up again. And go to, you ever come to those zones where the portal is like red and it's like says it's danger?
Yes, yeah, all the time.
If you go back to them now,
Uh,
they should be fine.
yeah, I find it hard to find them again though. The map isn't great in the game for where I've been, where everything is. Like
Uh,
even
if
I wish you
if it's
could when you go into the map, I wish you could mark
right
areas
where you want to go,
so that
yeah,
you kind of know where you're going.
yeah. If the little stickers have the name of the place,
Hmm.
you've been in there.
Yeah, okay, okay.
If they don't, you haven't been in there. So that's one way to find out. Like, oh, I know that's there, but I don't know. Like I have never been there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's just one thing. I was like, I kind of wish you actually went, and that depending on the amount of people you brought back,
Hmm.
depends on then the amount that you have for the final fight, which will make going through Lumiere easier or harder, depending on what you want. How many enemies do you want to fight, and how many do you want that have distracted? But the lighting, the music, some of those creature designs are fucking class.
Yeah, and an epic
Those
final boss fight.
epic final boss fight. Those the paintress, the curator, they have a fucked up imagination. I'm not gonna lie.
And I have to say, like, I know what you said earlier about maybe we'll get a sequel to this game when I mentioned the writers or whatever. I I don't want a sequel to this game. I loved it so much. I think they wrapped it up really well. I think having those two very personal endings. As I feel like if you now do the writers, we know the twist.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of it'd be just the Matrix Reloaded, baby. It's like okay, let's get further into the Matrix. Is like what I really want is them. I want them to make more stuff, and I want them to continue with this battle system because it's amazing. But I want it to be like Sadfall Interactive make like their own Final Fantasy series where each game is a completely new world with completely new ideas, and we're always getting something new and surprising, and we don't know where it's gonna go. We don't know what the story's gonna be or the twists. Because I feel like if you make an actual, I think you could do DLC to this game.
I think they're thinking of it. I think there was mentions
Yeah,
that they
I
were.
think there's definitely room for DLC to this game, but I don't necessarily want a sequel because I think the ending is too good to
That's
go.
fair.
Let's do
I
a
think
follow.
they could probably call the series Clair Obscur,
Yeah, and
and then just always have another subtitle,
yeah, 100%.
Adventure 52, and then a Wanderer 48, and
Was there anything else on the game in particular that you wanted to talk about that we haven't? Or I mean, there's so much we could talk about, but
there is
obviously,
so much to talk about. You know what? Like, I think everything else we could talk about is all just like that side content stuff. I think I've mentioned before that I really like the music too when you're fighting the mimes and
oh
the
yeah,
batonks and stuff. It's like, I always like doing a little shoulder dance when I hear that music. So again, this when you look up on Spotify or wherever it is that you listen to music, the soundtrack, the amount of tracks,
hmm,
like it's actually split up into a disc one, disc two, disc three,
yeah.
with the amount that there is. Like that is just nuts. And I think it's such a yeah, it's a. Did you get that feeling that I had when you finished it and you were like, what, what do I, what do I do now? Like,
Not
what did you do?
necessarily,
Okay,
but I think it's because it's for a different reason. I have so much side content to do
right, okay.
that I don't feel like I'm done.
Well, I
You know what I mean?
I did so much, and then I went and did the story, and then yeah, I tried to get the other ending, and then I went, oh well, what's it like to explore the world? And that's how I found out I have more. There is, I
There's
found
so much to this game.
there's so much to this game that
Yeah.
like all the floating rocks, so many of them are actually locations you can go to. And there was one of them, I think I started like randomly flying up to being like, oh, how far can I go with SK? And then I found a new location, and I with actually stuff connected to the main story.
Did you go to the casino as well?
I went to the casino. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't.
You
You
can't
can't
say
go
to get
in.
in or anything? No, I
No,
know.
no, 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 no. Did you fight the snake?
I tried.
He's a bastard.
He killed me immediately, and I went, yeah, nope. You
I've
have to
tried to.
remember, my guys are only at level 50. So I'm trying these fights at that level.
Yeah, no, I got him down really close.
Wow. Fuck.
And then I just killed my reserve team and went, I'm not going through that again.
It's
Fuck
great
that.
combat, though, isn't it?
Fantastic combat. It's
Well, I suppose what.
one issue I have with the combat.
Yeah.
Sometimes the camera angles are not great.
Hmm.
That I'm just like, I don't know where you are, to dodge or to block or what it is. Or you have those two enemies, the Claire and the Obscure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their moves are fucking dick moves.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Fucking spent forever there. I was like, just fucking hit me.
Especially when they're together.
Yes.
Oh my god. But I think for me, I suppose because you got to say like an overall review. I think was it last week or a week before.
Yeah.
For me, I suppose I just want to echo some of what you're saying. That I do think this has I think it's a contender for Game of the Year.
Hmm.
Certainly for now, and it is exactly what I want from future Final Fantasy games, to be honest. Not obviously, I like what the remake FF7 remake trilogy is doing, and I expect Part 3 to be still in vein with what those games have done in terms of their
Mm.
combat system. But I mean the next main line. Like I think Final Fantasy 17 should go back to turn based, back to party, back to just world exploration, finding secrets, mini games, combat, all that stuff. And I think this game has really showcased that you can do all that in a modern way. You could have a really engaging turn-based combat system
Mm.
and tell such an amazing story. Like there's so many key moments in this story that are like absolute like if you're like, oh, my favorite moment in gaming this year, it's like several of them would have come from this game. And then it ties together in a really, and I think like it does the twist better than Final Fantasy X does, for example.
Right, yeah.
Final Fantasy X being one of my favorite games ever. I always think the bit where you get Tidus's twist is always like, what? It doesn't really add up. It doesn't really make sense to me. It's not compelling. It doesn't feel like it paid off.
Hmm.
Here, whether you like the twist or not, some people might feel that it kind of takes the weight out of the just the world ending doom, but it's still like depends on how engrossed in that world you are. Like if
Hmm.
you care about that world, it shouldn't matter whether it's a painting or not, because ultimately it's a video game. It's not a real world anyway. If you care, if you're invested, then it shouldn't really matter how real or unreal it is. But it's an interesting debate. But I think whether you like it or not, they do tie it all up really well,
Hmm.
and it makes sense. And it's like, okay, I understand all the reasons for all this happening, and I understand that this cycle of grief you're trying to end is not just the cycle of the painting being destroyed or the people losing their lives, the world ending, but it's the cycle of family grief.
I
And it's
like
so powerful.
how narrow the core of this is. It's so human. The family grief. It's so human, and yet now it's applying to such a massive canvas, affecting so many people. It's such a beautiful thing, and I think a lot of creative works need to do that. I think that's why The Last of Us Part 1 works so well. Hell, even Last of Us Part 2, whatever your feelings are on it, it's such a human thing. So one is about love and the other one's about hate. Like there's such human
Yeah.
things so small that can affect so many people. So yeah, the Clair Obscur, I think, and I like that they didn't try to be all. They were very clear with what the story is.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get everything, you do get what's going on, why everything exists, and everything like that, which is just
Yeah, like you might need to do a
so.
little deep dive on wait where did this character come into it and like so who painted this version of Renoir blah blah blah. But at the bare bones of it, it is a story about grief. And actually, the more you think about that, you kind of go, okay, maybe there is a good ending and a bad ending, depending on how you feel about grief.
Mm,
Because one of the endings is about not letting go, and the other ending is about letting go.
mm,
So one of them is like denying grief or ignoring grief or trying your best not to deal with grief,
mm.
escaping from it maybe. And the other one is about accepting grief and facing it.
Right, and you
So
can
it's up to
when
you whether what you think,
well,
how
yeah,
you
okay,
think you should deal with grief,
yeah,
I
it's great,
suppose.
great story, great game, great voice acting as well.
Unbelievable.
Fucking
Unbelievable.
performances are fantastic. So well done to Sandfall Interactive for giving us an absolute beautiful work of art.
Literally.
Bringing all the painting puns in there now.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a stroke of genius.
Aye! And I can't wait for the DLC where we have to fight Bob Ross. But now
Oh, that would be fantastic.
now we want to hear from all you guys. Obviously, we could talk about this game more, and we probably will down the line. You know, just probably like if DLC does come out, it brings us right back to it. Or maybe when we do more of the side content, we might decide let's do a spoiler cast on all the side content to Clair
Mm.
Obscur or something like that. You know, but for now, this has been our spoiler cast for Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Incredible game. When Sadfall Interactive come up again in the future, you could be damn sure we will be like, oh shit, what's this now? You know, these guys have done an incredible job and they deserve all the bells and whistles that they're going to get for this. But we want to hear from you guys. What did you think of Clair Obscur Expedition 33? What did you think about the story? Where do you land on the ending? Which I think is going to be really interesting. Like, not only did they give people plenty to talk about in the game, big moments, big twists, big, you know, But they've given you something that once the game is over, there's something to discuss for a long time after as to how you feel about the ending, where you land on it, and all those big shocking moments. Let us know all your thoughts, guys. If you watch this on YouTube, make sure you jump down into the comments to share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this episode, please do give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell for all future discussions. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Thank you so much for listening to our spoiler cast. We'll be back to talk to you guys next time.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.